Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Digital Tiny Room. I'm your
Digital Tiny Room.
Digital Tiny Room.
Sorry.
We've integrated the world of terrifying modern technology into the podcast. I am your co-host for the podcast, Michael, and I am here in spirit, if not in body, with my possibly real or possible digital copy of real co-host, Benjamin. Say hello, Benjamin.
Hello, Benjamin.
Classic.
Sorry, as an artificial intelligence, I don't really know if I can, understand spontaneous decisions. I'm not sure. Michael actually murdered me, and I'm dead, and he uploaded my consciousness to a machine, and now he won't let me out unless I do the podcast.
That's amazing.
Every week.
You know what that scenario reminds me of? At least half of the episodes of Black Mirror.
At least half, if not all, the episodes of Black Mirror.
Look, Ben, let's give listeners a context here. Let's just very briefly explain what's happening. Ben has left me.
Well, I haven't left you. To be fair, you weren't being faithful, and you were a little bit abusive.
Only emotionally.
Yeah, well, that's the abuse that counts.
So tell them where you are, Ben. Not your address.
I'm actually... No, that would be a poor idea, and that's gone badly in the past. I am in the Italian city of Florence.
Ooh.
I'm currently sitting in my own tiny room in Florence.
And do they have internet there?
They do. They do, and they have other modern technology like air conditioning and heating and hot water when you want it.
Wow. Right, that's enough about you, Ben. It's not the What's Ben Doing podcast. It's the Michael and Benjamin's comic book TV.
Absolutely is the What's Ben Doing podcast.
Ben,
fine. Yes.
Is there any news since we're in a new year? Has there been any news during our 2-week hiatus?
New year, new us.
Yeah.
Oh God, I hate myself.
Yeah.
There's been some not majorly significant news, but there's been some news.
Go on.
So you and I, Michael, are longtime fans of a little 90s creation called Sandman.
Yes.
Sandman. And once upon a time, we talked about various forms of death.
Oh, we did. You're right. I know.
Various forms of death.
I know what news you're saying.
Yeah, and unfortunately, a bit of bad news. 7 days ago, a woman that we talked about in the podcast before, Cinnamon Hadley, she passed away. She lost her battle with cancer. She was the inspiration for death.
Yes, quite sad.
In the Endless Saga. It was a bit sad.
That is quite sad.
So she lost her battle at 48.
That's so young.
At 48. Quite young.
That is
quite young.
Not that much older than me. Oh, I'm facing my own mortality now.
Oh, don't do that. It's so early in the podcast. At least wait until the end. At least wait until the end of the podcast.
New year, new attitude towards mortality.
Yeah. Oh, no. New year, new Michael's fears.
Bloody hell, Ben. First news item of the whole year, and it's a tragic death.
It's not tragic. Yeah, it is tragic a bit. Yeah, sorry about that.
Look,
unintentional.
Look, do you have any lighter news?
Everybody's favorite comic creator,
Jack Kirby.
Sorry, the one that everybody gives credit to for creating comics.
Oh, Bob Kane.
Yeah, think of that for Marvel.
Oh, Steve Ditko. This is so sharp. People will think it's a bit that we've pre-planned.
This is around the month.
I'm not. I'm just being a bit. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm just being a bit of a.
You're being a pedant.
A pedant.
It's Stan the Man Lee.
Stanley Leibovich.
Yeah, so I know you said lighter news, Michael, but unfortunately, I don't have any lighter news with Stan the Man Lee. He's not dead.
Oh, hooray!
But he has been on the receiving end of some accusations, shall we say?
Like
and
that
if you remember,
to you.
If you remember when we left 2017,
yes,
a lot of ladies had been groped by men in power.
Yes,
and it would appear that the illustrious world of Marvel Comics, or rather the illustrious world of nursing care for those who founded Marvel Comics,
Yes.
is not unbesmirched in that thing. Now,
Go on.
we should point out on the podcast that it's all allegations.
All
so far.
allegations.
There has been no proof.
It's very allegedly.
No proof. It's very alleged, and he has issued a statement saying that he's being
Extorted?
blackmailed, extorted, and blackmailed. Although I think blackmail implies that you've done something, so perhaps extorted is the better term.
Here's the interesting thing about this situation, and I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but
Oh no.
he's 95, right?
Hmm.
And the people who are accusing him of groping are carers.
Yes.
I think that almost every 95-year-old man probably becomes a groper. Do you know what I'm saying?
Because they're reaching for a rail to support themselves. and
No,
they just happen
because they're dirty old pervs.
to
but-
pass an ass.
I mean, you would think, let's say, for example, that I don't have any surviving grandfathers, but if I had a surviving grandfather
Okay.
and he reached 95, I am sure he would be a groper. But,
You saying he'd grope you?
no, he'd grope whoever was caring for him, especially if it was a woman.
Okay.
Undoubtedly if
Because
it was a
you're-
woman.
Because
So-
you're close to the end.
Yeah, like when you've reached
You
the
just wanna
stage
feel.
of life where you need a carer to look after you, I would say that dealing with inappropriate behavior is one of the things that those type of people are trained to do.
Well, apparently,
Go on.
apparently it's not just groping, Michael.
What else
There's
is it?
there's been a few requests for fellatio.
From a 95
by-
again, from a 95-year-old man who's probably going a bit, what's the word for when old people go crazy?
Senile.
No, not senile. He's probably
Senile.
getting a bit of dementia. He's probably
he's
not
getting a touch of-
fully all there. Now, I'm not saying
touch of
dementia
dementias.
excuses the behavior, but if you're hiring a nurse to look after someone because they can't look after themselves anymore, part of not looking after themselves is probably starting to lose reason, if you know what I mean.
Fair enough.
Not
So
like
do
I
you
said-
think it's...
do I think it's a scam? I don't know.
you-
I think it's a bit unfair of a professional who, let's just say, Ben, there are millions, probably thousands, if not millions, of 95-year-old people, men mostly, in care, who are doing things like this. But
Sure.
the nurses and the doctors and the organizations understand that going a bit mad is part of getting that old. And
Okay.
because they're professionals, they don't try and use it. Possibly because the people aren't rich.
Fair. Oh, okay. Oh, so you're saying there's a fiscal element to all this.
Oh, for sure. Because I don't know. Obviously, look, more of the situation will come out and we'll find out what has happened and what hasn't happened and who's responsible for what.
Yeah.
Anyway, is there any happy news?
I haven't got any, but you might.
Well, they're back to kind of more, less gossipy, but more on topic
good.
news. Did you see what's
Good.
happening with New Mutants?
You know I didn't, Michael.
I know, because we talked about it
come
before. It was
Come now.
That was a conversational gambit. Gambit. Also news on Gambit.
Oh,
believe
that's
it or
also news. That's it got a release date.
not. Yes. How did you notice that, but you didn't see the New Mutants thing? New Mutants, Benjamin.
So every once in a while,
Yeah.
to prepare for the podcast,
Yes.
I do a little scan of CBR and Bleeding Cool News.
Right.
Because I often miss things.
Oh.
And now Google has realized that I'm a sad, lonely person, and updates my Google homepage with little news stories.
In Italian?
So sometimes I only... No, not in Italian. Google is very smart now, and I think you can tell that I'm not actually Italian, even though I'm...
In Italy.
Because I signed into my account, you see. So I think it probably realizes that since I spent the first 26 years of my life as an English-speaking Irishman,
And you don't have
I probably
bits of
didn't.
spaghetti on your face when it does a face scan.
nor a mustache,
Nor
nor any passing resemblance to Super Mario. None of the above.
Let me tell the news about New Mutants. For fuck's sake. Ben, it's been pushed back almost a year.
Fudge.
I know.
That's terrible.
It was due out
That's
this April, and now it's coming out February 2019.
Well, that's just no good at all.
Isn't that interesting? Apparently, I don't know if Fox themselves are saying this, but insiders are saying it's to beef up the horror element, because in test screenings, the horror element was the thing that people liked most.
Okay, so we're going to amp that up.
Yeah.
Pump up the jam.
Did you
Pump
see
up the ham. Yep.
what ham?
Horror movies are generally hammy to me. But,
Good.
Sorry, that was an inside joke that only I would get, and I realised that saying it on a purely audio medium would not actually...
Yeah, not great podcast material then.
Doesn't carry...
Also, we got our first picture of Venom.
Oh, we got our first picture. Oh man, I'm gonna have to look this up.
Well, hold on. Don't I don't want to get you too excited. We got our first picture from the movie Venom. It's just Tom Hardy in his work casuals.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Pretty disappointing.
So it's not actually a big, hulking, massive, inky...
No sign of Venom yet.
Sentient
What
goo.
What they've done basically is confirm Tom Hardy's going to be in it.
Yeah. Again, why is this movie happening? I just don't understand.
Well, it is the source of your famous podcast segment, Why Would They Do That?
My semi-regular kind of rambly, ranty thingy.
Yes.
Yeah. Why would you do that? Speaking of, Michael...
Oh, no. What?
I have one. I've led you up a merry path. And now
clever.
the trap is sprung. So, welcome back to the segment, everyone. You can all ignore Michael now for the next 5 minutes.
Excellent.
Because you're just going to hear me moaning about something that I don't like. So, Michael, what would you say one of the biggest, if not fiscal flops, one of the biggest, superhero flops of the last 2017 year was? What would you say one of the big ones was?
Oh, one of the big ones. Valerian.
That was terrible. Yeah, fair enough. Next.
I can't think of any others that aren't Justice League. You're clearly leading me to Justice League, but I can't think of any. What else flopped? Geostorm.
Geostorm with Jared Butler was a wonderful film. Don't you say a word against that man. But yes, you actually mentioned it in passing there. It was Geostorm. I'm referring to No, I'm not. I'm referring to Justice League.
Oh, you had me there. I genuinely believed
I'm
you.
I'm referring to Justice League. Did you like Justice League, Michael?
Look, Ben, I saw it in the cinema. I did a little review of it, if you remember.
Yeah.
Then
How's that doing?
I watched it very poorly. Then it's the lowest watched YouTube video I think we've ever released. Nice one.
Wonderful.
That's what happens when you release a review of a movie that came out 6 weeks previously. Apparently nobody cares.
You had it made in time. You just took ages to make the video this particular time.
And bloody Warner Brothers.
Oh, did they
Warner
give
Brothers,
you a little runaround?
They bloody gave us a runaround again.
Those fudgers.
Anytime we do a Batman video,
they don't like us.
They end up trapping us and blocking us. Anyway, I watched it again recently, somewhat illegally, on a South Korean streamy site, a legal South Korean streamy site, but it's been shared from there. I don't know why it was released there before everywhere else, but anyway, it's all right. It's fine. It's not great. It's not horrible.
Yeah. Well, I
have you seen it?
Went to see it, Michael. No, I haven't. I haven't bothered.
Bloody.
But I remember one of the things that I really, really hated about the trailer was Cyborg. Mm-hmm. Because he looked terrible. The CGI was awful.
A bit shonky.
It was shocking. And you know what I found out this week, Michael, is they've kind of half confirmed that he's going to get an origin movie.
Oh, we all knew that.
Out of all this. But my question to you, Michael, is why would you do that, Michael?
Very good.
Because they haven't worked out any of his thing. And then one of the co-stars said the strangest thing in the world.
Go on.
He said when he was making the statement, he said it was a great news for black people. And I understood this, and that was, it is good to see like a mainstream black superhero. That's great.
Hold on a second.
Then he said
Hold on a second. I've been taking issue with this. Are we not calling Blade mainstream?
Oh, okay, yeah,
Because
fair
if
enough.
anything,
but I don't know if it falls under superhero. Does it?
Blade, Marvel.
Yeah, I know.
This has
I know
been-
that
this
we
is-
know
but-
who he is.
but this has been
to everyone
bugging me.
else, he's
This has
Wesley
been-
Snipes in a leather trench coat.
This has been bugging me about the marketing for Black Panther, like the first mainstream black superhero, the first successful mainstream superhero movie of this wave that we're currently on was led by a black character. Blade. No Blade, there would be no X-Men, no Spider-Man, no everything.
Look, I'm. You know, I'll always agree with your, because you have a near encyclopedic timeline in your brain that can go back and do these things. But
Blade.
which is impressive. Okay, so fair enough. Yeah, but he said this, not me.
Who said it?
Not me. He said this. The co-star. I can't remember which co-star it is. I think it's the man who plays his father in a flashback or something.
Oh,
like that.
the dad from Terminator, the guy from Terminator 2.
I think that's who it is. And anyway, he said it's great news because there are very few, if any, black superheroes.
Right.
In general. I know, but it was I just thought it was such a thick statement to make because you have Falcon, you have Black Panther, you have Luke Cage, you have, there's no end. Blade!
Valkyrie.
To quote you, Valkyrie.
War Machine.
War Machine. But it was
I'm
such a
looking at
strange
my,
statement to make.
Nick Fury.
And Nick Fury, there you go. And I reread the statement.
None of them are
and
leads,
I thought, yeah, fair enough. But he said, because there are few, if any, black superheroes. And I reread the statement about 3 times because I thought maybe he said in the DCEU. Maybe that's what he meant.
Right.
Or sorry, yeah. But no. He meant it as a general statement about black people in comics. And I was just like, that's very ignorant. But anyway, back to my original rant because it has very little to do with that. Why would you make a Cyborg movie? Who cares? Why would I care about Cyborg?
Yeah, look, we've talked about this before. They're doing the reverse Marvel. Marvel built up their characters, made everyone like them individually, and then gave us the Avengers. And DC
Which is pretty smart.
Gave us the Justice League, and then is trying to spin them all off from it. And
I honestly only give a crap about seeing Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman, I don't know. People might see the Flash.
Asperger's boy.
Yeah. Does he like Asperger's?
Asperger. I said it wrong. Damn it.
I thought
Asperger's. But
burgers
yeah.
made of ass.
Asperger's. But yes.
Benjamin, we better.
Yeah,
Go on.
That was my little segment. Yeah, I don't want to see a Cyborg movie. I just don't care. And the last bit of news that we have today is Batfleck is going.
Yes.
Going. Like, we kind of knew that, but it's been more or less confirmed.
It's gone, baby, gone.
Did you hear? Did you hear Gary Oldman's choice to replace him?
Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah.
That would be a pretty bizarre Batman.
I'd love to see that Batman.
Joaquin Phoenix, to me, would make a very good Batman as Dick Grayson as Batman.
That'd be pretty cool. I'd watch that.
I'd
watch that.
Ben, you realise that massive plastic bottle you're drinking from is clicking and everyone can hear it.
Yeah, I can see it on the patterns. I'm sorry. I was thirsty.
Look, no glasses in Italy, is it? Have you gone feral? You've been there a week and you've gone feral already. Drinking out of plastic bottles.
Are you besmirching the entire nation of Italy because your co-host drank out of a plastic bottle?
No, you've gone feral. You've let yourself go. I'm worried about you living in squalor.
All right. Michael, how apt it is that we should be communicating electronically or digitally. Because this week's topic, tell the listeners what this week's topic is.
Ben, is this even real? How do we know that we're not in a simulation? How do you know that not only am I not real, but how do you know that you're not real?
Because I took the blue pill and I went back to sleep.
But maybe that was a layer within the simulation, Ben.
Oh, for God's sake.
Maybe everything is a simulation.
Am I going to need a spinning top to figure my way out of this podcast?
Maybe the spinning top is a simulation.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
Everything's a simulation.
I'm never going to get to sleep now.
Ben, we're talking about Black Mirror. You tell us what Black Mirror is.
We are. Black Mirror is an awesome. Well, that's my opinion. Awesome series from Channel 4 that debuted in 2011.
Channel 4 in England, Channel 4.
Channel 4 in England, Channel 4. And it was written by a very intelligent man called Charlie Brooker. And Charlie Brooker created a series of 3 kind of hour-long episodes, and each one looks at technology and the ramifications of technology in our time. So he's a little bit of a pessimist, little bit of a dystopian, and he kind of looked at trends in technology at the time, extrapolated them, and kind of saw what the logical conclusion to technology like that would be. So it's not completely original in terms of format, but his stories are usually quite modern and original. But the idea itself is not so original, in my opinion.
Did you keep talking there when I lost you?
Oh, did you lose me? Okay, yes, I kept talking. I did my whole...
Brilliant. Oh, perfect. Damn it. Okay. I have no idea what you said, but I'm sure it was excellent, so let's just leave it in.
So, fair enough. But I was just getting to where it comes from. So it's not really an original series. The storylines themselves are quite original, but the idea of this kind of dystopian, slightly twisted version of reality mixed with sci-fi and horror elements actually has a long history in entertainment as we know it. Have you ever traveled down a road, Michael?
Yes.
It's a long road.
Go on.
And you come to the end of the road and you find a door.
Oh.
And you open the door.
What's behind the door, Ben?
You fall through the door and fall through time and space. You found yourself in the Twilight Zone. So the Twilight Zone was a famous show in the 1950s?
I don't know.
1950s in America?
50s, 60s, again in the 80s?
Okay, so it's had a few reboots.
Yes, it's been back a few times.
But I suppose the original incarnation was the 50s. And it was a nice little kind of sci-fi television hour.
Sci-fi or fantasy?
Sci-fi or fantasy, you had either ones. But it's given us an awful lot of famous tropes that you see the Simpsons take the mick out of quite a bit. If you watch the Treehouse of Horror episodes, they play quite a bit of homage to the Twilight Zone. If you remember the one with the gremlin on the wing of the plane and Homer has his little...
Of course.
Or is it Bart? Bart has his freak out on the plane. That's a famous kind of version
That's from the Twilight Zone, the movie.
Twilight Zone. Yes, with the gremlins that chew apart the plane.
With William Shatner.
William Shatner.
Come here. Here's the thing, right?
Yes.
Here's the thing about Black Mirror. As you no doubt aware, because I keep saying it, a lot of Black Mirror episodes turn out to all be a simulation.
Yes, we frequently play that particular game.
Right.
Yes.
And having watched a lot of it again in the last couple of days to get ready for this, it really dawned on me that a lot of the time the reveal is a lot like in older Twilight Zone episodes where it turns out that they were in hell all along.
Yeah, they do that quite a bit.
And the person they were talking to was really the devil!
Yeah, okay. So that's quite common in this particular case.
Every time Black Mirror pulls that twist, I just wish he would say, "Why didn't you realize Louis Cypher, Lucifer? It was all a simulation."
He does. It would seem that he falls back on that one quite a bit. I think he writes himself into a corner a lot.
Well, even technology-wise, a lot of them are... They really
repetitive.
I don't even want to say repetitive, borderline linked, especially in the new series, which I know you haven't seen yet. But there's a lot of a very, very, very strong theme running through Black Mirror is an analysis of the nature of consciousness.
Yeah, they do that a lot.
If you make a perfect 100% digital copy of someone, and if they do or don't have a physical body, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're just...
Sure, kind of depends on...
So it depends on...
what we do.
Yeah, so sometimes they're inside a computer, or sometimes they're in a robot body, or some other sort of body. But if you make a 100% accurate digital copy of someone's consciousness, is that consciousness a person? And in season 1, they didn't really address that, from what I remember. But
yeah, no, because they do that.
Go on.
Well, one of the episodes is called "Be Right Back."
Yes.
B or B, and that's the first incarnation of consciousness in a vessel that you kind of see.
Oh yeah,
But-
was that season 1 or season 2?
That's season 1.
Is that the third episode of season 1?
Second episode of season 1, I think.
I thought the second episode of season 1 is the one with all the bicycles and the talent show.
And the what?
The talent show. The Britain's Got Talent episode.
Oh yeah, that is. You're right, absolutely. So it's either the first or third. Then I'm not sure which one.
I'm pretty sure,
not sure which one.
the first is National Anthem, about the Prime Minister who has to... Spoilers, obviously.
Obviously, yeah. Sorry. But maybe it is the second season then. Maybe you're absolutely right.
Look, we could look it up, but who cares? No one cares.
I'll do a quick check.
Say something about Ben. Do your thing about themes.
Yeah, so
Ben,
I think
Ben,
it's kind of interesting that
Motifs.
yes. Motifs. Oh, you want me to lash out a motif? Oh, Michael, you know me so well.
Tell us about motifs.
Is this our first podcast motif of the new year?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. So I think it's kind of interesting that you look at the consciousness element of it. What draws me to Black Mirror is more the sociological elements of... Well, there's a couple of things that I think Charlie Brooker takes serious issue with. One of them is this constant documentation that people do these days, where we take our selfies, or we video all our experiences, or we take photographs all the time.
Yes.
And I think that's a really interesting theme that he deals with a lot. There are several episodes that feature heavily on people filming things with their phones, or filming things with new technology, and kind of dealing with that kind of thing. I don't know. Are we going to do favorite episodes?
Go on,
now?
let's do
Because
it. Let's do it.
I can talk about. Okay, so one of my all-time favorite episode is The Entire History of You.
Oh.
The one where he watches his breakup again and again and again and again and again and again and again. And I think that's a fascinating thing because he can just scrub through his own memory.
What particularly resonates with you about that, Ben?
So. It's kind of, for him, it's an exquisite form of torture.
Oh.
Like it's a weird punishment that he's kind of putting himself through. I think what Charlie Brooker is trying to say, and I can't possibly know this for a fact, but I think what he's trying to say in that one is this constant documentation of who we are as people means that we don't really move on as well as we should when things end. Because you can watch the videos, or you can go back through profiles, or you can go back through photographs that you have with that person. You can't really move on. So I think that's kind of interesting as a concept. But it's funny that you said that they all link up eventually, because that technology comes back in... Basically, the technology in that episode is built into his eyes.
Yes.
And he has a little remote control that he can take out of his pocket, and he can scrub through his own memories.
Yep.
As much as he wants. Kind of like if you're editing a video on your laptop. And that technology comes back in the Christmas special, White Christmas.
With John Hamm.
With John Hamm. Illustrious John Hamm. The wonderful John Hamm.
With his very strong chin.
With his very chiseled jawline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that comes back. And so he does kind of take these interesting jumps in technology, and then he links them into his own stories as he goes along. But that's a really fascinating one. And then he kind of touches on that again, this idea of perception and allowing yourself to be controlled in certain ways. So I think one of the things I like is the Man Under Fire. Is it Man Under Fire?
Men Against Fire?
With the soldiers. Man Against Fires. That's it. The one with the soldiers in the military, and how we can alter the perceptions of soldiers on the battlefield.
Isn't it interesting how it's become that type of show where the episodes definitely have names, but the world is kind of settling on common names. Like there's the one with the soldiers, the one where the Prime Minister fucks the pig, the one with all the bicycles on the talent show. The Bryce Dallas Howard one.
I think the Bryce Dallas Howard one is pretty good as well. But again, so he looks okay. So if we move directly then from this need for kind of cataloging our experience or recording our experience, we then move into social media. So he goes even further with social media, and that Bryce Dallas Howard episode that you mentioned is fascinating.
So, pronounce her name again there, because I don't think you've got it.
Bryce Dallas Howard?
Yeah, you can say it when you say it slowly, but you're struggling with it when you say it quickly.
Oh, do I struggle with it? When I say Bryce Dallas Howard?
No, you're all right now.
Okay.
Aww.
Anyway, BDH. So her story centers around this idea that you can rate anyone that you meet,
like on a Google, like on a Facebook.
Yeah, like on a Google or on a Facebook. So he kind of takes the concept of Tinder and then the idea of Google reviews, and he mixes the two of them together. So anytime you go somewhere, you can rate it or do something like that. And she goes mad because everyone lives walks around on eggshells around people, because if your rating drops below, I think it's 4 stars, you drop a class.
Yeah,
and then Sorry, go ahead.
It's basically a new kind of class-based system based on Instagram popularity.
Exactly.
Or Reddit.
Exactly. And I think, oh goddamn Reddit. So I think that's a really interesting episode. The other one that fascinates me about the theme or motif that I really enjoy.
You enjoy a motif, Ben.
Black Mirror. I love an L motif, a glass of scotch, a motif. Oh, ideal evening. But yeah, the other one that I really like is how Charlie Brooker investigates crime and punishment.
Ben, this is so interesting. We've taken very different things from Black Mirror.
Yes, I think we have.
What I've taken from it is that everything is possibly a simulation.
Yes, but I look at it far more because I think you kind of hit on it earlier. Many of the episodes end with that kind of common thread of, oh, it was all a dream.
Yeah, I'm the
simulation. Devil. Yes. And I think that can get very repetitive, but for some reason Black Mirror tends to stick with me, and I think it's because sometimes it's the commentary he makes, or sometimes it's a thing that he makes me think of. There's like an echoing afterthought to the episode. So for me, I think the crime and punishment one is kind of fascinating. How we choose to punish people.
Go on.
And if someone... so there's 2 episodes that stick out for me in that regard. One is the White Christmas episode again.
Spoilers.
And the other one is White Bear. I don't know if you remember that one.
One of my least favorites.
Yeah, because it requires a lot of suspension of disbelief.
And that is one of my big issues with it. Sorry to go off topic here a little bit, but
that's all right.
I particularly like the episodes which are well thought out enough that the characters are having to deal with the same suspension of disbelief that we do. For example, bearing in mind, I know you haven't seen this one, but I'm going to spoil it all the same. There's a new episode in the new series called Hang the DJ. Hang the DJ.
I like it.
Like the song by the Smiths.
Yes. Hang the DJ. Yeah.
Is it?
I'm not going to try and sing it.
So,
but yeah, it's by the Smiths.
Anyway, in this world, people have an iPhone-like device which coaches them through dating. And when they meet people on a date, it's like a Tinder kind of date, but it's seemingly randomly chosen by the system. And the system gives them an expiry. So they'll meet people and they'll check their expiry date and they'll say they have 12 hours together. And then they'll meet another person and check their expiry date and see they're going to have 2 years together. Or then they'll meet another person. And then it goes through this whole system. There's a twist, of course. I won't tell you what the twist is, Ben. But you can probably guess.
Do you die if...
No, Ben.
If the expiry date's wrong? It was all a
simulation! But that doesn't matter. What's interesting about this one is, I think Mr. Charlie B likes to play with the audience's expectation. Something that just the art form of TV and movies have bred into us. That we always expect the characters to know more about their situation than us. Yes. So, for example, you're watching this episode and cars come to pick them up and move them in together. So if they're in a long relationship, a car comes and picks them up from the date and brings them to their new house where they're going to live together for the next 5 years.
Oh, wow, okay.
And you start thinking, how did they sign up to this system? Are there people who aren't in the system? Yeah. Do people meet normally? Do they work? Like how do they work if the system can
does this work?
And then slowly over the course of the episode, as it's building up to the twist, obviously, the characters address these things.
Okay.
And then it's the same in the White Christmas episode with John Hamm, and is that guy's name Rafe or Rafa Spall? The guy who looks like the guy from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I think it's Rafe Spall.
Yeah. He looks like he would be a great brother for Agent Fitz from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes,
look
he
him
would.
up
He'd
later.
be rather suited.
Anyway, it's the same in that one where we come into it and they appear to know each other. They've been there for 5 years and they really like playing around with this. Oh wait, I don't remember how I got here.
And it creeps up.
And it creeps up on them, this slow realization that it was all a simulation.
Yeah, because it's like a dream when you have those dreams and you're like, you know, when you have those kind of logical snaps in your dream where you're like, wait,
this doesn't make sense. Why?
Yeah, you know, you're going on fine, and then you're like, no, I was never taught English grammar by a crocodile. That never happened.
My pet octopus has never attacked me like this. He's usually so placid. That's one of the great things about the episode, the USS Callister, as it's going to go down in history as the Star Trek one.
Yeah, fair enough.
It is again, of course, all a simulation.
Yes.
Although in this one, it's all a simulation is revealed after the first scene. So we know it's all a simulation. It still addresses the same themes of what does it mean to be conscious and what does it mean to be human.
Sure.
Because in this one, the guy, I forgot his real name, he looks like a uglier Matt Damon.
Yeah, I know the guy you're talking about.
You'll notice I haven't said ugly Matt Damon. I said uglier Matt Damon. Because Matt Damon is plenty ugly. So he essentially kidnaps people and puts them into his little simulated universe where he is the captain and they're all his subservient lackeys.
Oh, what?
But Ben, and here's the moral twist of this one. When he kidnaps them, he takes some of their DNA and copies them into the game, but in no way affects their real life self. So their real life self goes about their business, totally unaware that there's a digital copy of them being tormented in this game.
Again, we come back to John Hamm.
In a way.
In the White Christmas episode, okay.
In a way, but at least in the John Hamm one, even the technology looks quite similar. But in the John Hamm one, the people have made the decision to make a copy of themselves to make a slave.
Yes.
But in this one, he has kidnapped a copy of them. And then at the end, when he gets his comeuppance, you're kind of left thinking, did he deserve the comeuppance?
Did he earn that?
Because, I mean, they're more or less like real people, but are consciousnesses stored on the computer real?
See, here we go. So this is the thing. It leaves you with those questions and you're kind of left uneasy. And I think it's especially difficult when he does it with the crime and punishment ones, like that one.
Oh, hold on.
Does justice.
Sorry, hold on. I want to say one more thing about that one.
Go ahead. I'm not finished with it, but okay.
No, hold on. One major bloody bugbear about that episode, the Star Trek one. In the Star Trek one, in every other one, they make a copy of you by scanning your brain, because consciousness is the brain. In this one, and this is my major science fiction disappointment, he can do it from their DNA. And then when he scans their DNA, so he can steal a lollipop that they've licked and then scan them into the game.
Yeah.
But skills, Ben, skills and memory and attitude aren't in DNA.
They're cognitive, yeah. Okay.
So that's my main pain.
That's a bit of a fudging.
Yeah.
A fudging of actual
Sorry,
science.
what were you saying about crime and punishment?
No, but it's just interesting. He leaves you wondering if you should hate that person or they deserve the level of punishment that they get. So I'll take, for example, I guess the one that always struck me as quite bad is John Hamm. John Hamm receives... He's a dating coach.
Yeah.
At the start of his special.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the men that he's coaching, he uses the eye technology to kind of walk around as them.
Do a Cyrano de Bergerac.
Coach them. Yeah, he can coach them directly. And unfortunately for him, one of the guys he's coaching is murdered by a psychotic lady.
Typical lady.
That he takes home because the woman assumes that the woman assumes that the poor schlub who is getting coached by John Hamm hears voices like she does. And she thinks like they're soulmates in death and she kills him in the bedroom, in the boudoir.
And she's Tonks from
And
Harry
then-
Potter.
She is. And then John Hamm is punished for this crime, because what he's doing is completely illegal. You're not allowed to be a voyeur, and he's punished for this crime. But his punishment is very strange. He is forced to go through the world as a registered sex offender, I think.
No, they don't as much say sex offender, but that's the gist of
But
it.
pretty much anyone that looks at him sees white noise.
Red noise.
Is it red noise for?
Remember,
for
he
sex
sees
offenders?
everyone else as white, and they all see him as
because
red.
he's not allowed to look at them, so he's isolated while living in cities, which is very
it's horrible.
strange.
It's pretty gruesome.
And you have to wonder if it's his fault. It's not really. He's not a pervert in that way. He was making money being a coach, and he just happened to find a very easy way to coach people through that thing. Now, admittedly, he tried to cover up the death, I think, didn't he?
Well, he didn't report it. No, I think you're right. I think they came up with this terrifying punishment. The writers, I'm saying here, I think they came up with this terrifying existential punishment, and then fell in love with it, and then didn't realize that really they hadn't given John Hamm a crime worthy of that being fair.
Yeah.
Because you certainly don't leave that episode thinking, everyone got their comeuppance. You leave that episode thinking, Jesus, that was a bit harsh.
Yeah, John Hamm is in like a special kind of hell.
Yeah.
At the end of that episode. And you're kind of left wondering, are you holding a tiny little demogorgon?
Oh, yes, I am actually, yes. It's actually a gargoyle from first edition Hero Quest by Milton Bradley. But same difference.
I'll have that Milton Bradley sponsorship.
I have to include a picture of this now.
Sorry.
In the podcast.
But yeah, this happens quite a bit. You know, it happens again in that White Bear episode. This woman arguably merits her punishment more in the White Bear episode. Mm-hmm. She's either a child murderer or a child molester. I can't remember.
Like Freddy Krueger.
But anyway, she's forced to live in a weird apocalypse scenario inflicted on her by the father of the child that she killed or something. Mm-hmm. But every day she survives the ordeal and then has her memory wiped and has to go through it all again.
This is another thing that they really like, this cyclical punishment thing.
Yeah, it's a Sisyphean thing. Like, push the boulder to the top.
Did you call me a sissy?
Yeah, called you sissy.
You think you're safe in Italy.
I'm safe. You can kick my ass when you come over. Yeah. It's kind of, you push the boulder to the top of the hill. The audience is expecting their payoff, and then you just realize that the boulder rolls right back on down the hill with you under it or not.
Very often.
Oh no, your microphone's about to be eaten. Yeah, and this kind of it's a cyclical punishment. It's terrifying. And the memory wipe thing, I suppose, brings into question consciousness again. If you're wiping a woman's memory completely, what is the point in punishing her? She's not learning anything from that punishment. She doesn't understand why she's being punished. And I don't, it brings into question, what is the purpose of punishment if you don't know why you're being punished? Is it a sadistic thing? Is it to give satisfaction to the family? I'm unsure. But these are the ones that keep me awake.
You see, this consciousness thing, back to consciousness, because you've got back there. This consciousness thing, Star Trek, unwittingly or unknowingly, ended up having to deal with this. Because in Star Trek, Ben, as you know, they have transporters.
Yes.
And the transporter, when it's beaming you from one place to another, it disassembles you on a molecular level, converts that energy into information, and then sends that information to a new place where it assembles you from atoms there. So essentially it kills you and rebuilds you in another place. And
that's messed up. Even
in real world terms, that is probably, if transportation technology ever does come to fruition, that is probably how it will work. You will have to be disassembled and reassembled in a whole new place. Are you still you when that happens?
Yes.
Because what's the definition of you? There was a very famous Star Trek episode in which the Enterprise goes back to a place where they had a horror... No, it wasn't the Enterprise, it was a different ship. Anyway, Commander Riker, when he was a lieutenant...
With the beard. with the beard.
Yeah. When he was a lieutenant, he had been in a transporter incident, which he had barely escaped with his life. And when they go back to the location of that incident, they discover that where they had teleported him from, there's another copy of him.
Oh.
Because the transporter had malfunctioned and left a copy on the planet and made a new copy on the ship.
Oh, what?
And the guy on the planet lived there for thinking he was the original, and in many senses being the original.
Because he was being
Because he was the one who was supposed to be disassembled, but he wasn't, so the transporter failed to kill him. And this is... They didn't approach it in Star Trek from this modern existential what is consciousness kind of, but it was, do they both have a right to live? And it also brought up loads of issues with, if they can do that, why not just send in armies and armies of clones? Because if you can just clone someone and keep a copy of them in reserve, then there's no need for anyone to ever die.
I remember this with Dollhouse, the Joss Whedon series.
Go on.
Because they do that thing where you basically upload your consciousness to a machine and you opt to have your body used as like a vehicle.
Yes.
For various other personalities. And usually the people that opt for this have shady backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
And they need to take themselves off the grid, or they need a lot of money. So to do this, I think you sign up to a 5-year contract, and your body is used as a vessel for other forms of consciousness, and it makes you into a perfect kind of companion or escort or, whatever.
Dominatrix.
But that's the point. So what happens is you have the empty shell, and then a nerdy guy with a computer uploads a perfect personality for the client into the shell, and then the client gets to take that particular avatar home. Now, this is all done under the notion that your original personality is being stored on a computer.
Yeah.
And quite frequently, it's used as leverage against the main characters when they're kind of fighting back against this kind of twisted system.
Yeah, we'll wipe you. We'll wipe you.
Yeah, we'll wipe you, exactly. And they'll remove that original person. But for me, it never sat right, because the person was wiped the minute that they vacated their body. I don't think you can... For me, it never... I find it a very difficult thing. I don't believe in this upload to a computer and you're just the same person.
Well, why not, Ben? Because what is consciousness?
But you see, it comes back to that Riker thing where it's like, which one is the original? And you can never go back to the original.
But why is the original so important?
Because, you see, this is the thing. This is the thing that bothers me, is it's not ever really going to be you. You die one way or the other.
Why?
Because it doesn't carry on being... You're not aware.
But what is you? So if we lived in a world of Star Trek and you were disassembled and reassembled to be transported, you wouldn't undergo it.
We say, I suppose there's some kind of like vast psychological training to prepare you for the concept that you're a brand new you every time you touch down on a planet.
I don't think there is, because I think in the series at least they didn't realize that this could happen until it happened.
There bloody should be.
Yeah,
it should be intense.
Well, answer the question, Ben. Would you go through a transporter that disassembled you, essentially killing Ben Alpha, and then reassembling Ben Beta?
Beta Ben.
Yeah. Or Beta, if you prefer.
I don't think I would.
But Ben, you could be in your living your life in Italy, and then just teleport over here for some nice bread, and then teleport back.
I think the bread is better in Italy.
Yeah, it probably is. I couldn't think of any examples.
The point stands.
A pint of Guinness.
For a decent pint. I'd kill for a decent pint. Yeah. I don't know, but it's not me.
It is. But what is you, Ben? That's what I'm saying.
See, that's the problem.
That's what Charlie Brooker is saying.
That's the problem. See, I read too much poetry for this to be an easy answer.
Yeah. Look, Ben, what Charlie Brooker really wants us to think, well, at least in the consciousness episodes, is what is a person?
Yeah.
And
what makes it?
And if you have an exact copy of a person, is it a person? And the answer that he seems to use is, of course it is.
Yeah, that seems to be what he goes with most of the time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
man.
What you're assuming is that there's some sort of intangible uniqueness to the original.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know.
What you would call a soul.
I guess that's the issue I'm having.
You've become very spiritual.
I'm not actually a spiritual person, but I do like the notion of a soul. But I realize that it's probably not there. So if you directly copy someone, then it's just a copy. Do you know what I mean?
Unless you copy them from their DNA, because you can't copy memories from DNA, Ben. That's just stupid. Ben, we've forgotten something we were supposed to do this episode. We were going to. We were supposed to say what we usually do is not talk about film and TV adaptations from comic books, but we're going to do the opposite. So
yes, we are.
We've got about 3 or 4 minutes left. Let's smack each other with some name bombs.
Okay, so I would go for more realistic people who do kind of trippy stuff. So some of the guys I would pick. So the 3 episodes that I picked that are my favorites are Nosedive, Be Right Back, and the entire history of you.
So that's
the entire history.
That's Haley Atwell body swap episode, Bryce Dallas Howard episode, and Rewatching Your Memories episode.
Absolutely correct. Be Right Back is really cool, really twisted kind of thing, because again, there's no consent there. And I don't think that falls under. I don't think that even falls under the consciousness episode or the consciousness issue, because the AI is building him from his old social media profiles and his old interactions with a particular woman.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a copy of his brain.
It's not a copy of his brain. It's just an amalgamation, or it's a puppet with skin lashed onto it. It's weird. But anyway, the person that I would choose to draw that one is Lee Bermejo.
No, don't know who that is.
Lee Bermejo has kind of made a career out of doing very gritty, realistic depictions of superheroes. He frequently does Batman. He did Batman Noel. I don't know if you read that one. He used to write Death Blow. Have you ever heard of Death Blow?
Of course I've heard of Death Blow.
Sorry, yeah, he used to do a lot of work for Death Blow. God, he's so sensitive. He used to do a lot of work for Death Blow. One of the other ones that I really love is the entire history of you. And for that, I would choose he's a French artist called Jared Moreau. Which I definitely didn't get right. Jared Moreau, if you're going to use my actual accent. He does very nice line work, and I think it would suit those kind of cold. He does a lot of blues and greys, so it would suit that kind of cold memory. And then the last one for the Nosedive episode, where you can rate people and tell them what you want, because the world is very pastel. Oliver Copiel.
Oh,
he did the Avengers for a long time.
Yeah,
he did the Avengers
kind
for a long
time. Kind of pastel, but sterile and white,
like a hospital.
Did he do any of the Jonathan Hickman?
He did indeed.
He did the Doctor Doom, Emperor Doom stuff.
He did.
Spot on,
I
Ben.
quite like him.
A good choice. I was thinking I haven't necessarily picked my favorite episodes so much as just episodes that stick out to me.
Sure.
Episodes that when I was watching them, I could kind of see a comic book version in my brain.
Sure.
And USS Callister, the Star Trek one, was the most obvious one. And for that, Ben, I would enjoy the work of a Brian Hitch.
Ooh, an L Hitch.
Because, as you know, we talked about before, Brian Hitch, he is kind of credited with this invention of widescreen action storytelling comic book stuff. Also, I don't know if you've read Ultimates Volume 1 and 2. He does what the USS Callister episode does is really nicely differentiate between the bold, colourful excitement of the Star Trek type universe with the fun camera angles and the energy, and then the kind of dark, sterile office environment. And for some reason, the office where they work, obviously.
Yeah.
And for some reason, it always stands out in my mind from Ultimates, I think, Volume 1, where Hawkeye attacks an office building that turns out to be entirely populated by Chitauri, who were
aliens.
Yeah, and I just think he would do a really nice job on combining those two looks. Yeah. Another one, which I'm surprised we didn't really talk about, is San Junipero, the happy one.
Great. One of the few with a happy ending.
More in the new series have a happy ending. then
What?
yeah, quite a few happy endings in the new series.
Oh, no.
Anyway, San
Do you think that's
Junipero,
American?
it's all a simulation, as you know,
Yes.
but it's a simulation of different periods. And the person I would like to see do that is a Mike Allred.
You love Nell.
I like a Mike Allred. I do. I enjoy his work. I think he would do a great job of making the characters look like 80s versions, 90s versions, 2000s versions.
He would. He'd nail that quite.
I think it would be
quite easily.
I think it would be really nice to see. For the national anthem, the one where the Prime Minister has to fuck a pig.
Classic.
The most real world episode, I'd say. Borderline,
Yes.
not it almost, now that so much of the series is out, it doesn't really feel like a Black Mirror episode anymore.
No, because there's no tech.
There's very little tech. It's just Twitter, basically. It's fear of Twitter.
Yeah.
But when I was watching it, and I remember watching it at the time, I thought it would be a nice choice to have Derek Robertson
Oh yeah.
of Transmetropolitan fame.
Yeah, Derek Robertson could do a dirty London.
A dirty, grungy London. And
Yeah.
the episode doesn't actually have that much of a punky, grungy feel.
But it has an underground element.
Exactly. So they're my choices. For White Christmas, our kind of an anthology episode,
Yes, great episode.
I couldn't get the image of the quaint but somehow sinister Scottish cottage in the snow out of my head. And I was thinking, who would be able to do a quaint but sinister cottage episode, so self-contained, and then a couple of other styles? And I thought, based on Krampusnacht, Adam Hughes, he would smash it.
Adam Hughes would smash that, no problem.
Smash it out of the park.
That was a sinister little Christmas house.
Yeah,
in that special.
exactly.
Yeah, he'd nail that. You're absolutely right.
Ben, we could probably talk about Black Mirror for a lot longer, I've just realised. But
Yeah,
we
I think
probably
we could.
shouldn't.
No, we do have a format to stick to.
Yes. Ben, tell people what they should do if they have any opinions about who should draw Black Mirror episodes.
Well, we have this wonderful new technology out there now called YouTube.
Oh,
YouTube. So you can get down below, give us a comment, a like, share, and subscribe. Ding, ding, ding. That will be the one and only time I do that all year. I may as well do it at the start of the year.
I can't believe you said that. I'm going to just
yeah.
copy that on the end of every episode now. Also, you can listen on SoundCloud if you're a commuting person
Yes.
and you don't want to have to stream a YouTube video.
If you don't want to join the vitriol ranks of YouTube commenting, you can find us on Instagram.
Yeah.
Or Facebook.
Yes. At Mick and Ben.
You can find us on both of those. Using our wonderful names. If you're friends of ours anyway, let us know.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think. Which one unsettled you the most? Which Black Mirror episode made you feel most uncomfortable? Because that's generally what it does to me, and they tend to stick for me. So aside from that, let us know.
Okay.
Let us know.
Bye, everybody.
All right. Bye, everybody.